So welcome everybody. Again, my name is Emilio Mejia. I'm the CEO and founder of AM3 Technology and Cybersecurity. So today you're wondering, why am I taking up your time here, right? Today we're here so that we can talk about your financial firm, or some of you might be here from car dealerships and you need to know about FTC guidelines. What are FTC guidelines? The Federal Trade Commission guidelines and safeguards that are being put in place so that you as a dealership or a financial firm, whether you're an accountant, CPA, a bookkeeper, pay advance store, that you're taking in information, financial information from consumers, how you should guard that information, the IT or cybersecurity steps that you should implement so that that information is safe. So that's going to start to be regulated very soon, actually June 9th, which is what we'll cover. And we're going to be going over that in this webinar. Let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so what we're going to go over today, as I just said, if you're a financial firm or a car dealership, you're wondering, what is this FTC stuff all about? So I'll be here to guide us through this journey. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the Q&A section. If they're relevant to the slide that I'm on, I'll go ahead and answer them right there. If not, I'll answer them all the way at the end of the presentation. Thank you. We'll also go over exactly what you need to do. So I'm going to go over what the FTC wants you to do, and then I'm going to go over your options, whether you want to take it upon yourself, put that on your IT team, or reach out to somebody externally like AM3 Technology to help you with this stuff. Okay, so who are we? Why do I want to talk to AM3, and what can you guys do for me? So we're a managed IT service provider that focuses a lot on cybersecurity. We touch about 500 to 600 endpoints. That's between users, servers, and devices. So we have the experience. We've been servicing South Florida for over about 10 years or so as a combined group. We provide basic IT services, but we take it one step further. We like to protect what matters to you. You're a small business, like we're a small business. I work hard to grow my small business. I hope that you do the same, and you've been doing the same. And it would really suck if something happened in the cybersecurity space that meant that I could no longer run my business, or that all the hard work that I've put in is now gone, right? Someone gets into my finances, or someone gets into one of my clients' systems, and then I get sued and I have to close down. These are the type of things that we're trying to avoid. So we try to help you protect what matters, whether that's your intellectual property, the data that you collect, or your finances within your company. We make IT useful. We don't just make it, okay, we fix what breaks. We take your tools, we take Microsoft tools, we take software, and we see how we can apply that to your business and make your employees more efficient, more secure, and more productive. We have a knowledgeable and friendly team based out of here in Miami, Florida. So they're always available. Who am I? My name is Emilio. I am the CEO and co-founder. I'm the CEO and founder of AM3 Technology and Cybersecurity. Sorry. I co-founded another MSP that I recently parted ways from, and that was the last 10 years or so. So I've been servicing South Florida IT for about 17 years now. I'm also the co-author of a best-selling book, 16 Strategies on How to Keep Your Business from Hackers. At the end, I will be giving away 2 copies of the book, so to whoever's still around and has some good Q&A questions. So we'll tackle that later. Okay, so what are the FTC safeguards anyways? Why do I care about them, Emilio? Why should I pay attention? Well, we fall under some of the industries that I mentioned earlier, the financial firms. And when I say financial firms, I'm using it as a very broad term. It's really anybody that collects financial information from consumers, meaning individuals, so that they can do their job. So a car dealership takes Social Security, bank accounts, how much people make. Accountants do the same thing. CPAs do the same thing. Bookkeepers do the same thing. Pay advance place. Law firms do it. There's a wide variety. It just depends who the FTC, who needs to be in compliance with the FTC, FTC being the Federal Trade Commission. So if you're not sure, you can look it up yourself, or you can send me an email, or let's schedule a call and let's see if you fall under what needs to be done to protect yourself. Okay, so the agenda, we're going to go over the rules, the FTC rules, and how they impact you and your business. We're going to go over the deadlines and typical timeliness of implementation. Very briefly, talk about the consequences and what happens if you're not compliant, and what your very next step is to be able to implement these, which is the reason why we're all here, to figure out why this is going to be enforced and what we can do to protect ourselves. Why should you listen to us, AM3 or other IT companies? If you guys are not looking at the news, you can tell that cyber attacks are happening every single day. The T-Mobile hack, Colonial Pipeline, every day you see something new come out. People think, well, those are the big companies, they're the only ones that get hit. But you're absolutely wrong. You're not big enough to not get hit. You're just big enough to not make the news. So you're going to get hacked eventually. You just might not make the news because your company's not big enough. I'll give you guys some examples. We ran into a landscaping client that lost about $80,000 with a business email compromise. They were able to get into their email. They were to change a letter in the domain. And by that, I mean, let me give you an example. So if you work at Walmart.com, if you work for Walmart, you have an email that's Walmart.com. I come around and I create Walmart with 2Ls.com. And eventually I get your username and password through various hacking methods or phishing. I send you an email and you click on it and you input your credentials, and I'll have your credentials. So what I'm going to do now is log into your email and talk to people that you're talking finance and money with. And I'm going to have all the emails route to my Walmart with 2Ls.com. The person, unless they're trained, they might not know what's happening or be able to catch it. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask them to send payment somewhere else. Eventually, they're going to send payment to me. By the time you figure it out and let them know they haven't sent payment, I'm probably long gone with the money already. So we had that happen for a client. They were a landscaping client, lost about $80,000. We had about the same thing happen with a law office. They were real estate, so they were doing escrow, and they had a client sending money. I think they sent 2 payments of $250,000 or so, and those were intercepted by somebody else. We were able to come in. We saw the rules. We saw who they were being sent to and why they were being blocked, and we were able to help them a little bit. A lot of times, these things need to be in place before the incidents happen for us to be able to track and figure out, how it happened, who was doing it, can we give any information to the authorities? So a lot of times people want to implement these things after they're hacked. Not saying that's a bad idea. It's a great idea, because once you're hacked, you're kind of on a list of people that want to be targeted. But the point is, you want to have this stuff in place beforehand so that it's easier for your IT department to catch it, number one, because we would have caught this a couple of days in. To give you guys an example, the landscaping company, the hacker was in the email about 35 to 39 days before they took action. So they were monitoring, they were observing, they were seeing who do they talk to financially. Where's the play? Where can I make the play? Is kind of what they were doing. So they were in there for about 30 days before anything was able to, to happen or take action. So those are just 2 examples of, local clients that we know being hacked every single day. I have much more stories if anybody wants to sit down and talk about them at any time. But for the sake of the webinar, let's go ahead and keep it moving a little bit. So we're on the leading edge of cybersecurity. We invest into protection of our clients. We become part of your team. I want to learn how you do business, how your team does business, and how we can implement security. Security is intrusive. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not fun at all to have multiple passwords and change your passwords and have 2FA and have biometric. I agree with you guys. I know it's not fun, but that's where we are. That's where we are in the world today, and that's what we need to adjust our lifestyles to. So we like to provide layers of security. If you get through one place, then I'm going to block another. If you get through that, I'm going to block another. If you get through that, I'm going to block another, right? Because there's no sense in having ADT security system in your house and locking the front door, and then we leave all the windows up, right? Or we lock all the windows and leave the back door open. So again, we want layers of security. So they try the front door, they can't get in. They try the window, they can't get in. They try the back door, they can't get in. They see the ADT alarm on the window, the ADT sticker. Now they're a little more scared, like, all right, if we get in here, they're going to know. They're going to be alerted. It's going to be a little harder. Let's go to a house with less security. That's just a couple examples to kind of relate it to the real world, to what we're doing here. So what does a reasonable information security program look like when we're talking about the FTC safeguard rules? So first, you need a risk assessment by a qualified individual. Some would call it a cybersecurity risk assessment. Next, you would need a risk management plan, right? So what did you get from the assessment and ongoing evaluations? Third, you would need employee training and monitoring. And the last one you would need is an incident response plan. What do we do when S hits the fan, right? We're scrambling, something's happening, what do we do? So let's go over all of those briefly. First, the risk assessment, right? So I call it a cybersecurity risk assessment, and this should be done by a qualified individual, someone that knows IT, that knows some level of cybersecurity and knows what the threats are. They know what to look for, right? We're looking for sensitive information. We're looking for personal information. We're looking for financial information. Anything that's attractive to a hacker, anything that's attractive to the black market, anything that's going to inhibit you from doing your work if it's down, right? Let's say you use QuickBooks and you connect to a server to use QuickBooks. If that server gets hit and you don't use QuickBooks, how does that affect your business? That's the type of stuff we need to learn and we need to evaluate. So that's why we run a CSRA. It's almost like you're asking me to renovate your house. I need to come inside the house. You need to show me around. You need to show me where the pillars are. You need to show me what walls you want me to knock down. I need to tell you if I can knock down that wall or not, because maybe it's part of the structure of this house and we can't knock down that wall. Another example is a doctor. You can't give a diagnosis. You can't give a diagnosis without running your test. You've never walked into a doctor and been like, hey, this is happening. And he's like, all right, well, here's a surgery tomorrow. No, you got to run tests. He needs to qualify you for that. He needs to diagnose it. And then he prescribes whatever the remedy or solution is. So same thing with us. We come in, we run our cybersecurity risk analysis. We conduct a risk assessment. After that, we'll have a full report on all our findings and on the possible solutions for ongoing evaluations. Okay. So risk management plan and ongoing evaluations. So yes, this is where we come to the plan that we formulated based on the cybersecurity risk assessment. So now that we've done the cybersecurity risk assessment, I know that you have 3 employees that work outside of the office, 3 employees that work inside of the office. You have another 7 that come in and out and they're just hybrid. But everybody's sharing information the same way. And the 7 people that are coming in and out of the office, there's no way for me to know exactly if they're working at Starbucks, if they're working in a public library, if they're working in any type of public scenario where I cannot control the IT environment. So then that leads me to believe that my plan now has to be able to cover everybody. My solution needs to be able to cover everyone in the office, everyone working from home, and the 7 hybrid users that are in and out of the office constantly and at public locations. So that's part of the CSRA, the results, and then we create the plan. When we create that plan, this is something that's ongoing. So this is not a set it and forget it type thing. This is a checks and balances type thing, right? Why is this person logging in from here? Why are they accessing these files if they shouldn't have access to those files? You anticipate, you evaluate the changes to the systems and the network, and then we implement those solutions. So if we see that in 6 months, something is changing, whether it's in our industry, maybe it's in the business, maybe we're downsizing for some reason. We found a way to be more efficient and we can downsize for users. But on the IT side, that means that we need to implement another solution. So this is part of the ongoing plans and evaluations that we would present to the teams after a CSRA. Once we implement everything, the next thing is training and empowering our employees, actually. So employees are the weakest link in any company, unfortunately, when it comes to security. And actually, quick plug, in my book, that is the chapter that I have written on. So again, after the webinar is over, I'll go ahead and select 2 people and send them a copy of my book based on the Q&A questions and answers that are posted in the webinar. So again, employee training and monitoring needs to be implemented and checked. So employees need to be trained either weekly or monthly. We do weekly. We do 1 time a week, the first 3 weeks of the month. It's a 2-minute video, very unintrusive, very informative, and then about 2 or 3 true or false questions. But users need to be trained. Hackers are targeting users. I'll give you guys some examples. If you're at a large enough company, you can be offered 2 or 3 times your salary just to plug in a simple, I don't have one in front of me, just to plug in a simple USB device into any computer or server. So someone can approach you if you're working at a JP Morgan or at a Google or at an Apple, just something really big. And they can say, hey, I'm going to send you a USB. You plug this in, no matter what, guaranteed $5,000, $10,000. If we obtain information or data or anything, then we'll give you 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. It always depends on what type of information they're able to get. That just shows you the amount of ransom or monetary value that the data that they're about to steal has, that they can offer somebody $5,000 just to plug in a USB somewhere, or $100,000 or $200,000 as a prize if they were able to obtain any type of information. So our employees are always our weakest link. We want to train them to know what type of emails to look after, when to input their information. If somebody sends an email asking for a wire change or anything financial, how to do checks and balances in real life, right? Sometimes pick up the phone, confirm with the person over voice, verbally, what their changes were, ask for their supervisor to sign off on it. So all these things, all these bullet points are things that we train our users on, right? If they're our weakest link, I feel like that's where we need to guard them the most. So employee training and monitoring is a must once we start implementing these rules. Otherwise, we're just the wild, wild west out here. Are these things really, really happening? They're really happening. Look here, 2 examples. Florida tax website exposed filers data, and that's from as recent as December of last year. So a couple months ago, 5 months ago at this point. Another one here is somebody on a legal forum asking, is my CPA at fault for our identity theft? She was hacked some months ago and should have cybersecurity in place. This is 2 years ago, and I found this post, so I'm not sure how it ended up, but I can tell you what would happen now. Right now, this person would probably go online and start doing stuff like this. What would it do to your company? It hurt your reputation. If the FTC found out about it after June 9th, then there'd be some repercussions to it, some legal actions. You'd be fined. You'd be told you're out of compliance. This individual can come after you. Your firm or you personally would have to financially compensate them, give them identity monitoring, at your cost. The list goes on of things that would happen right now if your firm was hit with one of these. So it's definitely happening. You don't want it to happen, but here's a prime example of a end user or a person asking the question, if my CPA was hit, like, who do I come after? Before it used to be like, all right, the IT company, or you can help the IRS, but now it's going to be negligence on the actual CPA firm, right? They knew that the FTC said you should guard this, right? Here's cybersecurity controls. This is happening. The bad actors are out there, and they did nothing about it. So, here's a story firsthand. Lastly would be the incident response plan. It's the last step in the FTC Safeguard rules. The best example I can give about this is a fire drill, right? You did it in school, you did it at work. If you've ever been on a cruise, the first thing they do is, hey, when something happens, you're going to go to station H, let's call it. And when you go to station H, they're going to show you what rescue boat you're going to be on. And this is how you get to station H, no matter where you are on the boat. So basically, that's the incident response plan for IT. If a security event were to happen, what do I do? What is my role as your IT provider? What is your role as maybe the controller or the owner of the company that you're at? If you're watching this as an employee, what is their role? So this is something that we would go over with the owners and the employees and the key people at the company. If this happens, this is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. And this is what you do. And then my team would know what they have to do, or your IT team would know what they have to do. And then that's how we make everything work. An incident response is not fun. It's one of those things that kind of put you in a panic mode. So it's always better to either have rehearsed it or just have it on paper so that you can kind of check things off and go through the motions. So again, just to recap, risk assessment by a qualified individual, the risk management plan and ongoing evaluations. So that's the solution, the plan, how we're going to get there. The employee training and monitoring, which is to sustain the level of where we're at. And then a written incident response plan so that if something does happen, we know exactly what to do. So how long will it take to implement these guards? It can take 3 to 6 months. I like to say it takes 2 to 4 months. It really depends on the size of your firm or the size of your car dealership. And this is something we would know a lot more once we do a cybersecurity risk assessment. Or once you have one done, they'll let you know. It depends on the data, it depends on the complexity of your network. The smaller you are, the simpler you are, of course, the faster this can be implemented. The larger you are, the more complex your network or security is, then the longer that it'll take for us to implement something like this for you guys. The FTC Safeguard deadline is June 9th. That was updated in December of 2022. About 5 months ago, they extended it because it was shorter, but they noticed that there was not enough cybersecurity professionals to competently implement all the solutions. So now we're here. If you don't have a current IT department, feel free to reach out, whether it's AM3 Technologies or someone else, just anyone that can help you avoid, these fines or the deadlines is what I would recommend. So Emilio, that's all great, but everything that comes after the but. This is very time consuming. I don't have time. It was tax time. I had no time to do any of this stuff. What do I do now? I'm in panic mode. This requires a qualified professional, and I know nothing about IT. This is above 90% of internal IT departments level qualification, which that can be true. While you wait, you're still at risk, kind of what my slide says there. So we can complain, we can make excuses, but unfortunately, this is where we're at, right? This is a cyber threat landscape that we're in, and we need to make some decisions based on this, based on the data. So here are our options, right? We try and piece it together ourselves. You are more than welcome. I have a checklist. If anybody wants to reach out, just email us at info@am3-it.com. and I can send anybody a 15-step checklist on what they need to do to start guarding themselves from the FTC Safeguard rules if they want to start trying to implement these things themselves. I think it'd be a little difficult if you don't have any IT experience. And even if you have IT experience, it's almost a whole other field. So I would definitely try to recommend that you do the second option, whereas you partner with a qualified team of professionals, whether it's a consultant that you outsource and you pay him however you pay him, or you do somebody that does managed services that does this on a daily basis. That might be more of under a contract thing. I know some people don't like that option, but as you saw, it's an ongoing evaluation. It's not a set it and forget it type thing. As I mentioned here in my slide, this is what we live and breathe. So, my whole team does cybersecurity every day. So what it looks like working with us, as I mentioned before, we have the partnership mindset. We're a part of your team. We're not AM3, we're part of XYZ Accounting's IT team, right? We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about your growth in the next 2 years and how IT corresponds to that. We're going to talk about your security and protecting what matters for you guys and how it corresponds to that. We're going to constantly monitor and help support. When you guys have your regular IT issues, we're always going to be there. We're not just here for security. We're here for your IT issues. We're here to make your tools a lot more efficient. We're here to make you be a lot more productive. And then ultimately, IT and cybersecurity. We're here to protect everything. So as a whole. So I know I made that a little quick and brief, but we're getting to the end here. So the next steps would just be if anybody wants to book a FTC strategy session with me or with my team, so we can just discuss. This is no obligation to anybody. It'd be a 15-minute call maybe. Go ahead and scan the QR code that you see on the screen right now. And I can share it I can share the link in the chat as well. Let me go ahead and put the link in the chat here. /FTC/webinar. Okay, I've gone ahead and put the link in the chat as well, so that let me see, so that I didn't do that correctly. Let's do that again. And there you go. Okay, so I sent that to everybody. Yeah, let's book a call. If you have an IT department, we can book the call with your IT department. We can talk about how we can help them leverage what they already have, or how we can implement other things on top of that and maybe just do the security part, or how we can teach them to implement everything and run it on a daily basis. Whatever engagement you guys want to have, we can have that conversation. If you don't have an IT department, and then I'd strongly recommend that that we have the conversation as well. Guys, do not wait until the last minute to try to implement this stuff. It's a little tedious. It's very intrusive. It's going to take time. It's really, really going to take time. So do not wait until the last minute. I urge you. We've had people that waited till after tax season, and now everything is booking really fast. So if you're seeing this video and you're interested and you have the need because you fall under compliance, scan the QR code or use the link provided. Schedule something immediately, because we're booking up with CSRAs, we're booking up with assessments and implementations, and eventually we're gonna run out of manpower here. I guess it's a good problem to have, but we're trying to protect as much people as we can, so we're trying to take advantage of that. Let me see what we have here for Q&A. And then I'll see who we can give these the book prices to. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so the first one that I have here is there a cost for the FTG strategy session? So no, the cost, there's no cost to speaking with me and my team, for 15, 30 minutes just to go over, are we a fit? Do you already have an IT department? How are we going to work together? There's no cost associated with any of that. Depending on your size, if you're bigger than 3 people, there is a cost associated with the CSRA, but that's a conversation we can have in the FTC strategy session or the intro call. Thank you for that question. That was a good question. One of the other questions was about tax season, and I feel like I just covered it. But yeah, we need to get started ASAP. So if you are holding off because of tax season, then we should definitely get things going so that so that we don't run into this. Somebody's asking, we're only 3 employees. Do we really need all this? Like, are we too small to be breached or not? Small businesses are the most vulnerable ones. Why? Because the bad guys know that your processes aren't as mature, right? You don't have as much security controls as the big companies that are spending money on the IT departments. You're not training your users the same way. And you're so small that the smallest of incidents can take you out, right? It could be one bad review, it could be one reputation, it could be one person that sues you that just takes you out of business because you didn't have a big enough emergency fund or your insurance doesn't cover you enough, which insurance is a big question. A lot of people think that their insurance covers certain cybersecurity insurance, but it doesn't. So that's another conversation to be had. So just giving you guys some more examples around that. Any more questions or concerns? There's only 3 questions. If we add about 2 more, then we have 5 people to possibly send books to. Anybody? We got one typing now. Let's see what it is. What makes you different from the current IT guy that I use? I don't know the current IT guy that you use, but I can only speak about us. So we partner with several companies who have internal or current IT departments. What we do is we just act like an addition or like a blanket. Anything that you can't do or that's out of your expertise, then we handle, and we work together. Some departments don't have the tools or the skill set or the knowledge to implement certain security. So we come in and we do that on top of your already existing security team. And we make it work that way. We haven't had an issue. Usually, actually, a lot of my team prefers to work with companies that already have internal IT departments because there's some kind of liaison management in the middle. So I can't say we're opposed to that. We actually like it. So yeah, we can definitely work with current IT, or if it needs to be a different arrangement, then that's a conversation that we can have offline. If you want to just reach out to me directly. Thank you. That's a very good question. Okay, so that about wraps things up, everybody. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time today to come to my webinar and spend some time with us learning about the FTC safeguard rules. If anybody has any questions or concerns, you can reach me at info@am3it.com. I'll put it in the chat again. Or you can scan the QR code on the screen right now or on the PowerPoint to book a strategy call with me. Absolutely free for the first call. We could do 15, 30 minutes and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Thank you very much, everybody.